Nearly £22 billion have been pledged for carbon capture projects. We're going to read into this more from the BBC, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an article from the BBC with the headline that nearly £22 billion has been pledged for carbon capture projects. The government has pledged nearly £22 billion for projects to capture and store carbon emissions from energy, industry and hydrogen production. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified, of this video. So how do I feel about this £22 billion? You remember what I said? I always told you when the government say they don't have money, and look, they found £22 billion out of nowhere. It's almost as if there's a magic money tree, guys. Imagine this £22 billion could go towards, like, I don't know, the National Healthcare Service or the cost of living crisis. Oh, it's such a shame we don't seem to have money for them at the moment. But no, we found £22 billion. And yet we still have a £22 billion black hole, apparently, the Labour keep telling us. Funny that, isn't it? So so why am I joking, having a bit of fun about this? So this project is, why are we doing this? Why are we going for a carbon capture when it comes to energy? Why are we not investing more in wind power? Why are we not investing more in solar power? Why are we doing this? How is this a good thing for climate? Technically, it's not a good thing. And I'm actually going to show you straight up one of the most infuriating things here. Like this map, we're going to see it as we scroll down the reading anyway. But this is a map of the carbon capture and storage, right? So number one, natural gas was burned at the power station, right? That produces carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide is separated from the gas. And then what they're going to do is store the carbon dioxide stored under the North Sea. It's not going to, like, they're going to leave it under there and just hope, what? That it's not going to ever come out, that it's never going to leak. Like, what the hell? Like, why not, instead of doing all this, we just don't burn any more natural gas? Why don't we switch to, why don't we use the money elsewhere? Why don't we just stop emit risk? You know, all they're doing is literally storing the problem under a bed, hiding away the problem. Instead of actually stopping producing carbon dioxide, they're trying to store it away, try to hide it away so that natural gas can continue. So that basically natural gas companies can still continue to produce their gas. That's essentially what this is. As opposed to actually going towards climate energy in the first place. And we're throwing £22 billion of taxpayer money at it. Like, this is such a crap thing. This really is. And obviously there are some experts out there who knows a lot better than me. Like, what is the benefit of this? I'll tell you what the benefit of this. This is to give an argument of allowing natural gas companies to be able to continue to keep going under them. It's an excuse for them to keep going under them because they're going to actually deal with the carbon dioxide that comes out of them. And it's like, no, we want to stop emitting altogether. We don't want to hide it. And you can't. It's just not going to sit and hide forever. Eventually, it's going to come out. Eventually, you have to deal with it. You can't. It's so stupid, guys. It's so dumb. Let's read into this, guys. So, it says the funding for the 2 carbon capture clusters on Merseyside and Teesside promised over the next 25 years would create thousands of jobs, attract private investment and help the UK meet its climate goals. So Keir Starmer, who's visiting the north west of England with Chancellor Reeves and Energy Secretary Ed Miliband to confirm the project, said the move would reignite our industrial heartlands and kickstart growth. No, it will not. I'm not buying this. I'm not buying that at all. But some green campaigners have said the investment would extend the life of planet heating oil and gas production. So that's exactly it. That's what it's going to do. It's going to keep them going. We want to stop it. Like, you need to tell them, look, we've got to change. We need to change now. This is completely wrong. Carbon capture and storage filling aim to prevent carbon dioxide produced from industrial processes and power stations from being released into the atmosphere. Most of the CO2 produced is captured, transported, and stored deep underground. It's still, you're still producing carbon. You're still producing it. It is seen by the likes of the International Energy Agency and the Climate Change Committee as a key element to meeting targets to cut the greenhouse gases, driving dangerous climate change. All you're doing is hiding the issue. You're not solving the issue. Despite Miliband's first announcing plans to develop carbon capture projects from power plants in 2009 during the last Labour government, little progress has been made since in the UK. Speaking at a glass-making factory in Cheshire, Sir Keir said, "For our energy-intensive industries like glass-making here, or cement, or steel, or ceramics, you are familiar with these. The security that the future belongs to them. That the necessary mission of decarbonisation does not mean deindustrialisation. This is, if you like, is the political of national renewal in action." Speaking to the Today programme, Miliband said the project was essential if we are to decarbonise without industrialising. He said, "This is a government willing to invest in the future of Britain to create good jobs for the future, as the good jobs were used to exist in coal, but this is a new era for Britain, and a new set of good jobs to bring us energy security." So it's not just about the climate, Craig. So the argument is obviously it keeps these jobs secure. Now, my argument was all this about that you have to pillar away from oil and gas industries. You have to do it. Okay, this is something that needs to be inevitable. And my premise is obviously not to do what Margaret Thatcher did, and that is just shut down all the coal mines and leave people millions of hour jobs. No, it's a slow process, of course it is. But you basically push these workers into renewable energy jobs. You push them down those ways, and you wind down these industries, these oil and gas companies and industries in the UK. You have to do it. You've got to wind them down. They are causing damage to the planet. They are doing that, and we have to do this over time. Yes, we are still reliant on oil and gas in certain parts of the UK. I agree with that, but we need to start slow. We need to start making that transition, and this, to me, comes across as a means to delay that transition, to keep people in jobs, to try and do growth and all that kind of stuff. That's how I see this, rather than as a means to tackling climate change, because all you're doing with the carbon dioxide is literally just stuffing it underground and hopefully it stays there forever. He paid tribute to the end of the coal-fired energy industry in the UK, saying, "If Monday was the end of an era, today, with this government's decision, as the new era begins. Carbon capture and storage, a new industry, a new generation of good jobs in our industry's heartlands." This will be their excuse to produce the kind of energies as well, using carbon capture. That will be their argument. Up to 21.7 billion will subsidise 3 projects on Teesside and Merseyside to support the development of the clusters, including the infrastructure to transport and store carbon. It will also support 2 transport and storage networks carrying captured carbon to deep geopolitical storage in Liverpool Bay and the North Sea. The government says the move will give the industry confidence to invest in the UK, attracting £8 billion of private investment, directly creating 4,000 jobs and supporting 550,000 in the long term. Yeah, so this is about obviously keeping jobs in hand. This is the argument about keeping those jobs in hand. And my argument and my counter argument is that this is delaying and just hiding away the issue of it. Yes, I understand we have a cost of living crisis and everything else that's going on, but climate change is happening and we need to do our part to reduce it. And rather than investing in solar and energy and actually creating the jobs in those sectors, which is what we should be doing more, we're actually continuing what the industries that we have and just taking the issue instead of it being pumped out into the atmosphere, we're literally storing it and hiding it away. That's what we're doing. We're literally shifting the problem instead of actually dealing with the problem. It will also help remove 8.5 million tonnes of carbon emissions each year, officials said. The project is expected to start storing capture carbon from 2028. Last year, the Conservative government around £20 billion planned for carbon capture, but Labour said it never committed any cash. In our strongest indication yet of significant increase to the levels of state investment, the Chancellor said contracts such as this were never signed by the previous government because it did not prioritise capital investment, which is money spent on items such as building, equipment and IT. Reeves added, the game-changing technology will bring 4,000 good jobs and billions of private investment into communities across Merseyside and Teesside, igniting growth in these industrial heartlands and powering up the rest of the country. Emma Pitchbeck, Chief Executive of Energy UK, described carbon capture utilising as a storage as a tool in our armoury of technology we can use to decarbonise parts of energy that we currently can't do with clean electricity. James Richardson, Acting Chief Executive of the Climate Change Committee, said it's fantastic to see funding coming through to these big projects. However, Greenpeace UK's Policy Director Doug Parr called for spending instead on offshore wind and a nationwide home installation. Exactly! Home installation. Thank you for reminding me of that. We should be insulating all our homes to reduce the amount of energy that we produce. He said 22 billion was a lot of money to extend the life of planet heating, oil and gas productions. Exactly. Meanwhile, Friends of the Earth said the government should be spending the money insulating people's homes, not on the technology. It said it would just extend the lifespan of the fossil fuel industry. Yep. But Miliband questioned what the alternative was for carbon capture. The alternative is you reduce the amount of use of it. That's what you do. You reduce the amount of use of gas and oil. That's what you do. You reduce it. You have to start winding down on it. That's what you need to do. He said, just take a net zero Teesside that provides us with a gas-fired power station, but capturing the carbon. Now, what's the alternative to that? Because that's how provides low carbon. A flexible power generation when the wind doesn't blow or the sun doesn't shine. But the alternative is unabated gas. He added that the UK needed all the technology at its disposal as the backbone of our system will be renewable. The Merseyside and Teesside projects were part of several announced in 2023 to capture and storage 20-30 million tonnes of CO2 a year by 2030. This is not what people voted for when they talked about green investments and whatnot. All this is to do is to keep the status quo, to maintain the status quo. That's what this is about. They're going to argue that they are going to be the arguments that from the government are going to be saying, we're going to use this because we need to keep relying on oil and gas in the gas industry. We still need to rely on that. So this is why we're giving them 22 billion pounds to capture the carbon, hide it away, because rather than actually stop producing gas and actually look for alternative, cheaper means, this is what we're going to do instead. And their also counter argument is about keeping the jobs that we have and while also creating jobs in those industries, when instead that money could be used to create jobs and industries in the wind and solar sector, which is what we should be pursuing more of. We have loads of wind around us. There is plenty of wind around us. We're a goddamn bloody island. There's no excuse for us not to build massive wind farms out on the shores. The shores of the UK. It is blatantly, the energy is blatantly there, and we're just not doing it. I don't buy this at all, but maybe some of you will argue with me, but I don't think this is good. This is good. All it is just taking the problem and hiding it away. And you can hide the carbon, the CO2 down the way all you want, but eventually it's got to go somewhere. It's got to go somewhere. And it's going to come back into the atmosphere whether we like it or not. So what do you guys make of this decision? £22 billion has been pledged for the carbon capture project. How does that make you feel, considering that they had a £22 billion black hole? And obviously they had to keep the two-child benefit cap and cut winter fuel payments as well, just to add on top of things. Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. If you found this video interesting, please hit the like button. Be greatly appreciated. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.